Welcome to our Apollo 11 52nd anniversary event. My name is Carol Holmberg. I'm the planetary manager here, and today we are going to talk all about Apollo 11. It was the first mission that put humans onto the moon. Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin walked on its surface. We will be learning more about what the moon is like, how far it is, what the surface is, and you can even leave your own virtual footprints on the moon. Neil Armstrong, the first human on the moon, he died in August 2012. His family asked that Neil, being an unassuming man of service, not get a lot of memorials. Instead, they invited people to look at the moon, think about Neil, and wink. And so I invite you to wink at the moon. The moon is waxing gibbous right now. It's visible in the evening sky all week long. It is full on Saturday. So if you go out any evening this week, you'll be able to see the moon, and you will be able to see where on the moon Neil landed. If you look and you can see the lady on the moon, there's a lady in profile on the right-hand side. Tranquility Base, where Neil landed, is right behind that lady's ear. So look for it, think about Neil, and wink. This ball represents the Earth. It is 1 inch wide. And if you can imagine to this scale what the moon would be, how big do you think the moon would be? The moon is 1/4 of the Earth in diameter, so the moon would be a 1/4 inch ball. Now here's the hard thing. If the Earth is 1 inch and the moon is a 1/4 inch, how far apart do you think they would be? Would they be this close? Would they be this close? Would they be about arm's length? And it turns out that they are actually about 30 inches apart. And this is the average distance that the Earth and moon are. Sometimes the Earth is an inch or two closer to the moon, sometimes it's further away. We call those supermoons or micromoons, but they are very far apart, about 30 inches on average. Now, how big and how far away would the sun be on this scale? The sun is about 400 times further away than the moon, so 30 times 400 inches. And it is about 400 times wider. His first words on the moon were famously, "That's one small step for a man, one giant leap for mankind." And other astronauts have had first words as well. Buzz Aldrin, the second man on the moon, he said, "Magnificent desolation." Pete Conrad with Apollo 12, the third man on the moon, his first word was whoopee. He said kind of a joke because he was short. He said, "Man, that might have been one small step for Neil, but it's a long one for me." Other people have said other things. In fact, Apollo 16 commanders John said, "Oh, this is ever neat." And I wanted to ask you, if you stepped on the moon, what would your first words be? Leave a message in the comments. We did this for the Apollo 11 50th anniversary, and we got all sorts of wonderful comments, from "Where's the bathroom?" to "This is incredible." You might wonder what the surface of the moon is like, because it's full of rocks and regolith, which is chopped up rocks. This one that is on your right is a northocite, and it's purple. You might wonder, the moon isn't purple. There's impurities that make northocite on Earth purple, But the moon is light colored, and this is what the lunar highlands are made of. These are some of the oldest rocks on the moon, and anorthosite isn't as common on Earth as it is on the moon. In the middle, we have basalt, and this is what the maria are made of. You can see that it's very dark. And this one also comes from Earth, but it's very similar to what they have on the moon. Now, on the moon, there are lots and lots of impacts. We're going to talk about cratering later, but those fragment all the rocks, and the rocks fuse together. And so this one that is on your left, this is a breccia. And breccias just are a conglomeration of different rocks, and the moon has breccias and other breccias, lots of things that are pushed together and solidified. And so these are the three types of rocks that you see on the moon. And the moon is covered with several feet of just broken rock, dust, lunar dust. It's called regolith. And you can, and the astronauts have, left their footprints in the regolith. Now is your turn to maybe make a boot print on the moon, or at least a shoe print on the moon. And in the comments of this Facebook page, you will see this image. And if you would print it out, you can then take your shoe and the paper and a crayon, and you can color your boot print and see what it would be like on the moon, like this one. And this one Aaron did. And then once you finish it, you can put out one small step for whoever you are, Aaron, one small step for Aaron, one giant leap for mankind, and have your own memento. When the astronauts walked on the moon, maybe you noticed that they kind of hop and jump rather than just plain walk. Well, that's because gravity on the moon is only 1/6 of Earth gravity. How high could you jump on the moon? Well, here is a way for you to find out. First, you need to put some paper up on the wall. And if you have adults and children in your family, you might want to put more than just the 2 pieces. And take a crayon or a pencil or pen and mark as high as you can reach. And then I want you to jump and do it again. Now, no running jumps, has to be a standing jump. So jump and mark how high you can jump. And then take a ruler or a tape measure and measure the distance between the two and multiply by 6, and you will have how high you could jump on the moon. The moon is covered with craters, and those craters come from impacts of rocks that have hit the moon. The moon has no atmosphere, so all the rocks that come from space hit the moon and create craters. That's what has broken all of the moon rocks into dust. And we can show these craters. I've got a tub full of sand, playground sand here, and I've covered it with iron filings. And you can do this most easily at home if you have a plate full of flour and you cover it with a dusting of cocoa. And then you can drop the rocks. I've got some pebbles here. And when we remove the pebbles, they leave craters. There's a little crater. There's a nicer crater. And I've got little tongs so I don't ruin it with my fingerprints. And see if you can make different craters. What happens if you impact sideways rather than straight down? What if you have a bigger pebble, a smaller pebble? What if you have a more dense pebble and see if it makes a difference. And you can do this a number of times before you need to reset. Because I have iron filings, I love this. I have a magnet and it will scoop the iron up and I can reset it very easily. I hope that you enjoyed our anniversary event as much as we did filming it and planning it. You know, the last people left the moon in 1972 and no one has been back since. But NASA has plans to change all that with their Artemis mission. Artemis 1 will launch in November. It will be uncrewed, but Artemis 2 will carry people to the moon, and Artemis 3 will land people on the moon in the next few years. It will also have the first person of color and the first woman on the moon.